Hi, everybody. Welcome and good afternoon. I'm Richard Kuzma, the product leader for Conversational Analytics Agents here at Google Cloud. We had so much interest in this session earlier in the week and packed the capacity, so we're very glad that we were able to also close out the week and share a little bit more about what we're doing with conversational agents. So raise a hand here if any of you have tried building agents for your data thus far. Awesome, a lot of hands, right? So we know this is hard. This is a problem that we've all, I think, been collectively looking at for the last few years once we realized that models could do text to SQL quite capably. But we know that we actually need a lot more than that for data agents, right? We need consistency, security by default, we need governance, and we need to be able to turn insights into action. So today we're moving past the hype, and we're going to show you how conversational analytics agents can be a part of your right now and your multi-agent future, and we're going to turn this static data into an autonomous analytics workforce. I'm thrilled to be joined today by my colleague, Mark Wolnick, Outbound Product Manager here at Google. And then later in the session, we'll hear about Capgemini's transformation using, in part, conversational analytics agents and the entire Vertex and Data Cloud stack. Though Sudhir did have to catch a flight back home, they've been really generous in answering questions about how they've gone really deep, how they've gotten the consistency that they need. So we're happy to make some connections there. Now, our agenda today is quite simple, right? First, we're going to talk about the vision, right? How the agentic data cloud can speed up the business decision making that you're doing each and every day, right? Not just about the data, but how we use it. Next, we're going to talk about how we create, teach, and embed our agents wherever we need those insights into our workflows. And we'll hear about the story of Capgemini using conversational agents, again, to drive that group transformation. And then I'll hand it over to Mark, where we'll get to see a live demo. We'll get to go deep under the hood, get to understand the technology a bit better. And then we've got some really exciting product announcements that we'd love for you to all be a part of and be some of the earliest testers of. So first, let's talk about where we're going, right? Why are we here at Data Cloud or at Google Cloud Next talking about data agents? And the core thing I want you to take away is that this is not about talking to data, right? It's about moving the entire enterprise faster. It's about more data-driven decisions at the speed when you need them. And this matters no matter what your job function is. If you're in operations, if you're in retail, in finance, whether you're looking at internal products, external. And so this agentic moment that we're now in means that we can get those data insights faster. It means that we don't stop at the first question, that we can dive deeper, that we can now make better decisions, and we can do this all without having to wait. It's not about just compressing the timeline to get data insights, to get data answers. It's actually about getting those insights to us before we even know to ask. And in this way, we're really hopeful that we're going to turn every single employee into a data-driven decision maker. So analytics has always been this battle against time. In the mainframe era, it could take you months to get the right answer. With business intelligence, we got that time, V1 down to weeks. But now, even today, if you have a dashboard, it can take days when you need an update. You have to realize not all the information is there. You have to go ask your analyst team. They're probably swamped with their own backlog, their own queue. With generative AI, with today's conversational analytics agents, we compress that timeline down into seconds. You ask the question, and we're actually providing follow-ups. We're providing deeper insights beyond even what you specifically asked. But really soon, we're going to be moving to this autonomous future, the one where the insights come to you before we even know what the right question is. Conversational analytics is a big investment across the data cloud here for Google. So whether your data lives in the governed semantics of Looker, you need the massive scale of BigQuery, you have real-time transactions and operational databases like AlloyDB, Cloud SQL, or you're using open formats like the Lakehouse, because many of you are cross-cloud or cross-model. Our agents operate no matter where your data lives. And as Mark is going to show later, we can seamlessly put these together to have one common interface. So our users, our decision makers, are not thinking, where does this data come from, right? There's the simplicity almost like the Google search bar. Now, to make this a reality for your business, we have to talk about the full agent lifecycle, because it's not just about the moment of the prompt, the moment of the insight. So we'll talk about creating and teaching these agents so they understand your business, they understand your data, how we embed them wherever we work, and the flexibility and the composability that we're trying to bring. We'll talk about the richness of the data insights that we get to provide, things like multimodality, how we co-design to have forecasting and anomaly detection and bring the best of Google to you in this easy natural language interface, and then how we're thinking about building trust through the entire life cycle of the agent, from before the first question we were creating the agent, to knowing that you're getting a good, accurate, consistent answer, to then monitoring. Because we know by the time we come here to Cloud next year, we're going to have fleets of agents. And you need to know how they're operating, how they're healthy, and how to continuously improve them. So hopefully we've all been hearing a ton about context. We know that agents are only as smart as the context that we give them. And if you were to just plug in the raw model to the data warehouse, it's going to fail. We've probably all been there. It's going to hallucinate. But at Google, we've been thinking really hard about context, again, across the data cloud. So we give our agents deep, context-aware grounding. Whether that's through the knowledge catalog, giving access to universal business context, or, again, Looker's semantic model, where you've codified your exact business logic, and you want that consistent answers each and every time, so that not only is the metric the same when two different departments use it, but session over session, you're getting the same answer that you can trust every time that's going into your report, that's going into the decisions that you're making. And then we're really excited as well about the new BigQuery graph, because we know that agents are going to need us to unlock this like multi-hop structural reasoning. So no matter, again, where your data is in the data cloud, we bring the right context solutions to you. And when we build our agents, we're thinking about making it as easy as possible to tune them to your exact use case. We have things like glossaries and descriptions, so you can illuminate your key business terms. We have verified queries that we use to make sure you get, again, that consistent answer, and that the data steward has the ability to scale themselves, right? Knowing the questions that our users are going to ask most often. And then we can bootstrap the teaching of these agents by using your usage with your permission and using the power of Gemini to get this started faster, because we know once you make that first agent and we move from pilot to prototype, we're going to scale out more and more. And I really love that we now use this context to build trust with our end users. So when they get an answer using that verified query, you actually see the citation, you see the check mark. I know this to be good. And if you're not sure, we're building in the feedback capabilities to ask for help. So once we've built these agents, once they're smart, once they know us and they know our business, we have to think about putting them where the users work. Data is not this destination, right? Not everyone is going to come into the Cloud Console or come into Looker, right? And though we're embedding these things where our analysts work, where our technical workforce lives, and in dashboards, we want to have this anywhere. So we're not going to force users to come into a new or unfamiliar UI. We want to bring the insights directly into our applications, into our own chat apps where we collaborate each and every day, places like we'll see Slack a little bit later, and our existing dashboards, of course. We imagine data not as the destination, but as a node within a larger agentic workflow. You're going to use that insight to then take action, maybe within the Google ecosystem, maybe outside of it. Now we've built this in a way where one conversational analytics agent can be managed but deployed into many places. So we'll be able to get you ready for building the right now, where we're orchestrating maybe agents within Slack, and that future where generalist agents are actually using our data agents as purpose-built special tools. And so to walk through some of the options that we have here in being composable, right? On the left, we have Looker. We have kind of the fully managed solution. You want to have the iframe. We've invested heavily in what are the right user interface patterns to be able to show the agent's reasoning, the right charts and interactivity. We have those options. You can also use the SDK, iframing, embedding. And then as we'll see later, we can use the Conversational Analytics API. We'll use that with ADK as a bit of a router and orchestrator if you're within that Google ecosystem. We'll talk a little bit later, too, about Gemini Enterprise. But we know that you have other options. We know often that you're testing other models as well. And so we're making sure that we also build out all of these capabilities into our existing MCP tools. So you can bring your own model, have us as a part of your ecosystem, giving you the flexibility, not the lock-in. Where I'm really excited, though, is in Gemini Enterprise. Right? Google is building this one unified hub to manage, secure, and interact with all of your agents, and conversational analytics agents can be published right there. So wherever you work, we'll have the data ready for you. Now, it's great to talk about context and APIs and composability, right? But I think it's really important that you hear about how these agents are actually being used in practice to drive transformation. So though our partners at Capgemini couldn't join us today, I want to share a little bit about their story. I want to talk about the why, the how, and the what. So Capgemini started with this really ambitious journey to get their data right about 4 years ago. They wanted to own their data. They didn't want to be locked in. And they wanted to move from this complex system on the left into a more streamlined data cloud with their enterprise data model right at the center. So they moved into more of a pub-sub model. They eliminated some dependencies. And they chose Google to build their data cloud because we had the comprehensive toolkit, because we helped them get to that single data source, kind of like enterprise data model for all forms of consumption. They then leveraged Looker as the key semantic layer, both for reporting and dashboards and making their data agent ready. So now they have the flexibility to move from the dashboards and the reports that we all already have, right, to the prompts, to the agents, and back and forth, right? So we can choose the right tool for the right job, grounded in our own business logic. So Capgemini had the key ingredient, right, their data. And I think we've all probably known that we have to get our data right so we can get our AI visions enacted, turned into reality. So bringing AI to the enterprise, they also chose Google because we provided so many of these native capabilities. The Gemini models, we have Apigee for API management, Cloud Armor for security and the network, Looker's semantic layer, again, for that governance, and conversational analytics agents and our API, so they can build a solution that fits their needs, not the solution that just comes out of the box. And they've built this all, and we'll see shortly, this unified platform called Neo. So they've got our stack here with Capgemini having assistants, right, that talk to docs, talk to unstructured data, and the analyst, the talking to the structured data. And what I love about our partnership here is that they had some really tough enterprise requirements that I think many of you will have as well, right? They wanted near determinism and consistency when they asked questions of structured data, because we were working on sales data, on finance data, really critical to the business. They wanted permission and role-based access controls so that the CEO can see everything in the business, but a business unit leader can only see their particular business unit, and same for a marketing unit leader. And they wanted the ability to have this all fluidly together in one place, in that one single search bar. So this is how it looks in the screencast, and it shows a simple way. We'll see a video on just how the user can go ask questions, ask follow-up questions, get the insights they need, all in, again, that one unified place, powered by, in part, Google's Data Cloud. So now we know that these agents can help us not only get insights from data now, but we can package them up into whatever interface we want. Again, all with our goal of having the flexibility of changing the way we make decisions, changing the speed at which our entire business, our entire organization gets to move. So to take it further, I'm going to hand things over to Mark, who will get to talk about exactly how we get those data insights and show it for real.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for walking us through this. And just to reiterate, I think what Capgemini has built is really great, truly impressive how they implemented insights into their enterprise intelligence. And thanks again to them for showing it to us. So my name is Mark. For the next few minutes and before all of this is over, we're going to look a little bit under the hood of at the exact Google technology that is used in order to power all these insights, all the conversational agents. And we'll explore how to move from raw data to actual insights. And I also want to show you how a swarm of agent looks like in reality. We have come up with a small example that I'll just quickly present to you. And then last but not least, we're going to dive into a little bit into how to build trust, because trust is super important when you, especially if you want to scale this out. You got to have trust in order to give your employees or users access to this. So what we just saw is powered by our agentic architecture. As we can see here, everything, and we all know that, starts with a user's question, which is combined with existing business context. But in our case, instead of just executing a basic text to SQL, it passes through our reasoning engine, which you can see here in the center. This engine is equipped with a large number of analytical capabilities. Before it ever writes a line of code or query, it can autonomously, for example, disambiguate confusing terms, investigate the schema, pull up sample data, plan out future steps like running key driver analysis or detect anomalies. It figures out the how and the where, and it also securely connects to your data estate. So data estate you've heard probably a lot of times over the last few days. So it connects to everything that we can offer pretty much, whether that's Looker, BigQuery, operational databases like Spanner or AlloyDB. Depending on the question, obviously, it executes the necessary subqueries and synthesizes everything into clear and actionable answers. And because of this reasoning engine, we are delivering stronger and smarter agents. Because let's face it, human language is very ambiguous. We all know this. You and I, we've all done this. Other users have done this as well. We just type in, give me the Q3 report. Now, the agent obviously doesn't know straight away which Q3 report is needed, but through the reasoning engine and the power we're giving these engines, it's able to like disambiguate, sort of. Sometimes, given on the context it's giving, it knows basically which kind of Q3 report you're looking to get. Or if you've had previous conversations which guide the agent already into the direction of which Q3 report you need, it also does that. If not enough context is given, we also have a capability where it actually asks a question back to clarify that it ensures to give you the right answer. All of this is powered by Gemini, and this can also switch between a deep thinking mode where it executes logical multi-step analysis, or it also has a fast mode which is more suitable for a fast direct question which doesn't really require any like clarifying thoughts or questions. This translates raw data into automated insights and also suggests next steps like follow-up actions or follow-up questions that are maybe in line with the line of questioning you currently have been asking the agent. Now everyone asks us, why does this work so reliably? And this is simply because this is built in and it's not bolt-on. So what we are having here is a true agent warehouse co-design. What does this mean? Because we're connected to so much different data estate, and because we're working together with the software engineers of these data estates, it's not just slapped onto it, but the agent knows how to deal with the data estate's native language, so to speak. So in our case, just to give you a few examples, in Looker, for example, it knows how to use parameters, it knows how to use filters, it knows how to apply pivots to the data. But it also, as Richard pointed out earlier, and as Capgemini uses it, it uses Looker's like permission system in order to retrieve only the data that the user is supposed to be seeing. It also uses Looker dashboards as context, and not only naming Looker, but also, for example, BigQuery, we have BQML in order to like detect anomalies or forecast stuff. Agent can tap directly into this. This is why it pretty much speaks the data warehouse's language. We're also taking this a step further with deep dive mode, where complex analysis typically takes like a data professional to run multiple queries, clean data, stitch data together, and then in the end write a summary for the stakeholder that has requested this insight. Deep dive pretty much automates this entirely. You can give it a multi-layered, very challenging question, and it autonomously breaks it down, and it executes all the necessary subqueries across your data, and it then synthesizes it up into a meaningful and actionable summary, and then it generates an answer for you. All of this, obviously, very data-backed. Now, before I continue talking, we wanted to give you a little product demo. If we could switch the input, please. So let's see this in action. What we wanted to show you, and Richard has teased this out a little bit, is essentially how a swarm of agent can be used in order to surface information. And we have seen this a myriad of times already. There's custom UIs, there is other chat applications. I'm pretty sure a lot of people here in this room use Slack as well. So we decided for this product demo, we're going to be showing it using Slack. Very straightforward. Also, because I wanted to keep my luck for the tables here in Vegas, I'm not going to do this very much live. I've had this conversation with the agent last week when I spun this all up. So I'm going to go through this conversation, going to show you how it's done. We're going to ask one live question just in the interest of time and to not stretch our luck too much. But yeah, So imagine the situation that I'm a category manager for an electronics retail company. I am responsible for the category of gaming consoles, for example, and I want to, my company has issued me with a means of Slack, and I want to find out how my category has been doing recently and how it does in comparison to traditional performance, and I also want to see data that might not have been modeled. So for this, in this use case, for example, we have a Slack bot that basically acts as an orchestrator on top of multiple different agents. What we have here, and I'll show you this in a second, is it's basically a bot which is an agent which is connected to AlloyDB, so it has access to transactional operational data, very near term, very near real time. Then it has also access to a looker agent which has historical data which is already aggregated for you. It has a semantic layer on top of it. It resides in BigQuery, but analytical questions are going to be routed towards that. But then we also have data that might be in BigQuery or somewhere else. In this case, it's BigQuery, which is not modeled yet. So in case a question asks towards that type of data, it'll ask the BigQuery agent to retrieve it from there. This is also connected to like a very lightweight MCP kind of server, which I've connected to Workspace so that we can not only see this data and ask questions towards this data, but also to put it into a format which is more actionable to some stakeholders, like for example, Google Sheets or or Google Slides. So when we look at this, how are consoles doing revenue-wise in the last 7 days? We see here it has routed this to the AlloyDB agent. Total revenue from consoles was 413K. It also shows us the query it has executed against this data warehouse. What's really neat here in this case, and this also shows the power, this natively supports the Postgres SQL syntax which is required in order to retrieve data from this specific warehouse dialect or data estate. Then we went on and said, how does this compare to the same week last year? So we have up-to-date data from AlloyDB, but we want to compare this to the same time frame last year. So we know this data is modeled somewhere in Looker. The agent here, as we can see here, orchestrates it towards the Looker agent and then basically synthesizes it together and summarizes it for us to consume. So the total revenue last year was 134, and then it compares it, tells us that this represents a significant increase. And then we went on further. What's the average review score for consoles this year, and how does it correlate with console orders? What it does here now, it goes into BigQuery, it retrieves product reviews which are not modeled anywhere, and then it uses that with the other data it has access to, to see how it correlates with the orders, and then gives us also a nice summary with a few sub-points like correlation, sales volume, review performance. And then I also asked it to create a slide deck about console sales and to include visuals and table data with that, and we can quickly click on this. And what you see here, this is not formatted or anything, this is just blank, the output. So we have a console sales analysis deck, and all of the questions that I had asked before are pretty much put into the slides here with the data, with key takeaways and some chart data, and this is actually linked to a Google Sheets in the background so that you can adjust it towards your liking. One thing I wanted to do though is just to show you that it actually works. We're mentioning the bot here, show total sales for top 5 categories since 2025 per month, and if that doesn't, yeah, that seems to be working. So it knows by the nature of the question, okay, this is looking for data that's already modeled, it's routing it towards our Looker agent, and now what's happening in the background is all the reasoning that we've seen before in the agentic architecture. It goes over the question, finds out the intent, sees where the data is, what are the filters and necessary restrictions I need to put on this query, and then it fires off the query, retrieves the data, and then in an ideal case, what we'll receive here is not only the raw output of the data, but also a little bit of like a natural language answer. So top 5 product categories are this. We also get a grouped bar chart here, which is nice as well. It shows us this since 2025, which is also cool. And then can you put this data in a Google Sheet? So we're using the MCP server here because this is obviously data that is nice to look at, but we might want to give this to someone else, or we might want to like do something else with it for us. I know we all love Google Sheets or Excel, and looking at this here, this is pretty much what we expected, by date, by month, the top 5 categories and how they've been performing. And yeah, this is how it looks like in action. And if we could switch back to the presentation, please. That's essentially the power of these agents and what you can do or how it looks like when you use many of them together. 2 final things that we want to talk about is like how to build trust, because anyone in this room knows if you want to deploy AI, power without control is a massive liability. And you simply cannot scale what you cannot govern. So for enterprises, building trust is a foundational step before you have a wide deployment in your enterprise. And to build that trust, we give you complete agent observability. With that, administrators can track usage, adoption, and consumption in real time across the entire organization. You can, Richard has teased that out, earlier already. Like next year, we're likely going to be talking about fleets of agent. With this, you can monitor your entire agent's fleet's health, but you can also obviously look deep dive into individual agents' traces, see how they behaved, what their hop to hop was, what was happening behind the execution of these agents. And what we also provide is, and which is very critical, is complete FinOps transparency. We're going to be able to show you exact token consumption within Cloud Login, and with all that combined, you now know exactly how your agents are performing and exactly what they cost without any surprise builds. Finally, these agents are designed to learn, and before you ever ship an agent to a user, you define its success by having automated evaluations against golden and verified queries that were mentioned before as well. Once these are live, once the agents are live, users can provide feedback, and with memory enabled, agents get smarter with every single interaction, and we are making conversational analytics just as measurable and governed as traditional enterprise software. But there's one final thing. What happens when you take the handcuffs off a trusted and governed system? And I'm going to ask Richard to come back on stage, and he'll show you what the fully autonomous future of the agentic data cloud will look like. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mark. So we now have these agents, right, who are becoming incredible partners, right? We've each probably worked with some data analyst at some point who just made us better, right? Made us think harder about the business, didn't just ask or answer the question that was asked, right? They had smart follow-ups. They were, going deeper with our deep dives. They were looking at the data from multiple angles, right? Just because you asked about one data source doesn't mean that they aren't going to bring others to bear, right? So we've brought this all together with, of course, the enterprise controls you expect from Google, right? The management of a team who's been thinking about context for years, who has built in streaming into the API so you can get responsive, fast answers in a delightful experience. But there's still one thing, and that is that we don't want to wait to have the data insights we need, right? We have all probably had something happen in our organization, in our business. Cart abandonment rate goes up, right? Maybe we have a production service down if we're managing an application. Our revenue has dipped unexpectedly, right? And if we have to wait till someone tells us about it or until we go to inspect the data, that's just too long. We've always needed humans to initiate the interaction. Human asks a question, now an agent answers. But true enterprise intelligence should not wait to be asked. So the goal of AI is autonomous action. It's that partnership that moves faster. And so today we're really thrilled to announce agentic workflows. So we are fundamentally transforming analytics from a reactive system into a proactive AI teammate. You get to instruct your agents to continuously monitor BigQuery, monitor Looker, your operational databases. You can get that scheduled Monday morning business report on the health of your business or your multiple business areas, so you know exactly where to look, exactly where to apply your time, your knowledge, and your team's expertise. But even more important, you can monitor those key metrics that you run your business off of. So when a critical event occurs, right? Customer sentiment changes, the cart abandonment goes up. Our agents can autonomously find out and not just have a flat two-dimensional alert, but research why it happened. Look for multiple angles, researching the why, cross-referencing maybe many dimensions, use the entire semantic layer, use all the metadata you have, and then come up with that crisp root cause analysis report, right? That lands right in your inbox or wherever you need it, letting you take action, or as Mark even showed, hooking into larger agentic systems through MCP, through other APIs, through other agentic tools, so you can act on that information before you even knew there was a problem to begin with. Now, we're building this in a trusted way with you. We want to turn these trusted insights into the fuel for action for the enterprise, so that marketing report, that Monday morning business review can be scheduled. We can all start there. I think we all probably have that meeting where we come together to understand the health of our organizations, and then move into this triggered analysis so that you get the insights, the root cause analyses right whenever you need them. And all of this is coming together so that our entire business gets to move faster. Again, data is not the destination, it's the fuel that's going to help us move into this agentic era. It's going to let us compete in the market, and it's going to let us all win. So, if you're interested in this, it's a great time to pull out your phones. We have a bunch of really exciting early previews. We love working closely with our partners like Capgemini, with customers. And so if you want that early access to the memory so that your agent starts learning on day one when it's being taught by the first analyst that uses it, it understands my preferences, and it can promote its memory, its knowledge into something that then Mark or other teammates can use. If you want the deep dive workflows, if you want the proactive and autonomous agents, and you want soon, we're really also quite excited about freeform chat where you can talk with, again, much more, entire data sets, entire projects, and eventually your entire organization. So on the left, we have the preview features, and of course, you've been hearing a lot about Gemini Enterprise, the home for agents in Google, and we've got that preview ready too, so you can consume these agents, again, right in the most important place, wherever your users work. So, we would love to work with each and every one of you, our product and engineering team. We want your hardest requirements. We want to understand the intersection of governance, your needs for consistency, what type of deep and rich insights you need from your data, and how we can help you build the systems that we know you're out there building today, the reason why you're at Cloud Next, and we want to help you transform your business.